everyone, it's Leslie from Lola Bell. Join me today. We are going to be making this pendant with lots of swirls using bare copper and a marcasite pendant, marcasite cabochon. So stick around and see how we create this. I thought I would do a quick video today just showing you a technique to wire wrap a quite thin, quite small little cabochon. This one is White Marcasite, and it is about 1¼ inches high, and then just over ½ an inch across. So it's not huge. Obviously it's a very lovely little stone, but we're going to just wrap it with some bare copper. So I've got a 20 gauge or 8mm square copper. This is from Metal Clays for You. The wire is really lovely, nice and soft, lovely to work with. And I've also got a 22 gauge half round wire from Rio Grande, which again is lovely to use, nice and soft. With the half round, I'm not going to be rolling off of the reel, so I'm going to cut to length. But what we're going to want for this particular piece is 3 lengths of square copper and the 0.8. These are I believe around just over 10½ inches. And then what we're going to want is maybe about 5 to 6 inches of the half round, just to secure these 3 together at the bottom of the pendant. So what we want to do is we're just going to hook that half round over the top of those 3 wires, bring it over and just wrap around, making sure that the flat edge is against the wires. That way it's going to sit nice and flush against the wire, and also keep the consistency of the wrap the same all the way along. You can obviously sort of push it together a little bit more with your fingernail, but we're just going to do a short amount of wraps here, just around all 3 of your base wires, just to secure them all together. Probably about that. So what we want to do is make sure that we cut the wire both on the same side. So if we just make sure that both of the ends are on the right side, whichever side that is for you, that's fine. Just that they're both cut on the same side, and we just trim away a little bit of the excess. If you are working from the reel, excuse me, if you are working from the reel, then obviously you won't have as much wastage. I try not to have any wastage. And then what I'm going to use are my flat nose pliers, and I'm just going to smush at both ends and then all the way along, just pulling everything in together, making sure it's all nice and secure. So what you have is like a really lovely flat crimp at the bottom. You can also then just pull the wires in together just to make sure that there's no gaps. Get rid of any excess that you have trimmed off. Now with excuse me, with wrapping the stones, what we want to try and look at, or what I always try and look at, is how the stone is going to behave, whether it's sort of round side down or point down. With this one, obviously we've got a lot of that lovely shimmering sort of marcasite down at the bottom, but we've also got this little tiny druzy detail up here as well. So we want to try and make sure that we don't hide those lovely details. So there's a couple of different ways that you can shape your wire. If you have got a nice round edge to the stone, you can use like a mold and you sort of find which size is going to be roughly the right one for your stone, and then wrap your wires around there. You can also do the same by holding the stone against the wires. I'm going to use the mold today We're just going to pull it around so we get this nice even roundness, and then we're just going to pop the stone in and just let it sit and just see how it shapes up, because obviously as we pull the wires in more, it is going to shape to the stone more. So that's pretty perfect. So with this particular design that I'm going to do today, it's very simple. It's a firm favourite with my customers, just a kind of just a wrap around with lots of swooshing and swirling. So I'm going to use again my flat nose pliers, and I'm just going to take the back wire and just twist my wrist in, and then on the other side twist my wrist in, so we get these sort of points coming in and across, and this just gives the stone a little shelf to sit on. Doesn't matter what they look like overly, it's the back of the pendant, but although you do still want it to be tidy. So then we're going to sit the stone on there, sit the stone on there, and then pull the wires in. And it does get a little bit tricky. You do kind of need a third hand sometimes with these. We want to try and make sure that the point that the wires cross is straight up from the center. So what we're trying to achieve is a straight line from the middle up to the point. I'm just going to pull it in, sit it down. Then holding with your thumb and finger on each edge. Again, I'm going to go in with my flat nose pliers, line the wires up with the tip of the stone, and then pull them in and across, creating a little bend which will come together to cause, or create rather, the bail. So you can see the stone is surrounded with that nice copper frame. It's secure in there. It's not tight yet, but it is secure in there. And then we're going to move to our half round wire again. So we just want to make sure that's sat in there. Now, because we're doing the bail, we want a little bit extra this time. So I'm going to take about 10, 20, 30, 40, about 55, maybe 60 centimeters. And again, we're just going to try and make sure that we keep that flat edge down. With this, you can see that we've got quite a shiny edge and then a slightly duller edge. The duller edge is always going to be your flat side. So again, what we want to try and do is keep these wires nice and flat together, but we're also trying to hold them together. So what I tend to do here is just do a few wraps where I pull around and then I pause for a moment and make sure that everything is pushed down, and then I take my flat nose pliers and I give it a smush. So this then makes all of these wires sit nice and tidy, nice and flush. And we want to just keep this little tail end because we're going to need that in a moment to do a bit of securing. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can either continue to wrap it around like we've just done, or for a little bit more speed, you can go around and just twist the whole pendant. And we're going to go around maybe 7 or 8 times. And then this just gives me a really, really nice neck going from the pendant or from the actual crystal up to the bail. And we just tidy up all of these wires, make sure everything's nice and flush and tight and sitting well. So now what we have is this nice neck of the bell. Before we use this long end, we're just going to take this little tail. Now it can be a little bit fiddly here, but what I always like to try and do is try not to unseat the stone from the actual frame, but just twist this around one of the back wires just 2 or 3 times, and it just gives you peace of mind that you know that wire is secure. The last thing we want is to wear a pendant where the wire ends go a bit wayward and start sticking into us, and then again just take that little bit of scrap and pop it in the bin. And then again with some slightly smaller pliers. These are my slightly fat needle nose pliers, but all the same needle nose pliers. I just give this little end bit a pinch, and it just, again, it folds that wide. So if we can get a bit of focus, we've got a few little single wraps, and then we go into the neck of the bow. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to take the front 4 wires and I'm going to separate them out. So I'm going to go 1, and we're going to unhook them all and find the other one. There's number 2. So your right ones go to the right, your left ones go to the left. So it just gives you this sort of arches at the front. So if you've got a nice soft wire, you can bend the wire and it will come back. You can straighten it back in. So what we want to do now is go back to our half round wire. Make sure that it hasn't twisted. So we want to just make sure that it's nice and straight. And then all we're going to do is we're going to go around these back 2 wires that are just straight up. Focus on this camera is terrible, so I do apologise. And then all we're going to do is we're actually just going to do a really simple bail. So we're just going to spin the pendant around. And again, we just every now and then just push the wires down, make sure everything is sitting nice and flush. I kind of go between a couple of different techniques here depending on how well I'm gripping the actual stone in its frame. Sometimes my fingers just go, yep, that's fine. Other times, like today, it's been very, very cold here today in the UK, so my fingers are feeling a little bit dry, which is making my grip a little bit rubbish. So we're just going to keep going until we've got what we hope and think is enough for a bail. And it depends how high you want your bail to be. So obviously this is a preference, really. I don't like my bails too high, but at the same time I do want them big enough that if people want to put a chunkier chain through them, they can. So we're going to go around, and again just making sure that those wires sit nice and consistently next to each other. And we will flatten these off again like we did at the base, but it's just, I always kind of wait until I get towards the end and I've finished wire wrapping up the bail, and then flatten it off there. So that's probably about enough. So as you can see, I'm just going to pull it around to the back. So I'm going to squish at the top and then gradually just work my way down, flattening each of those wraps on my way down. What I'm then going to use is my bail making pliers. These are my trusty ones. I've had these for such a long time, I can't remember what brand they are, but I will have a look and let you know in the comments. And we're just going to go around bringing that bail. So what you want, let's get that bit of wire out of the way. What you want is the 2 wrap lines to meet each other. And then with my flat nose pliers, I'm just going to bend that out so then it sits against the back of this neckline, and then I'm going to pull them back up. So now we've got the bail and it's sitting there. Because this wire is lovely and soft, it is very easy to manipulate it. And then to secure the bail in place, I'm going to take the rest of this half round wire and I'm just going to gently bring it around both the bail wires and bail neck. And again, you're trying to stop that wire from twisting, keeping the flat side down. And we're just going all the way down that neck until we reach the base. And with my flat nose pliers again, I'm just going to smoosh, pulling it all together, tightening everything up. Lifting the back two bail wires, I'm just going to come round and underneath and just shimmy it up. So again, we just want to attach a few wraps around just to secure the wire and just to make sure that things aren't going to unravel. And obviously your end where you cut is always going to be away from skin. So this is the back edge, it's going to sit in skin. So I will always trim this slightly underneath the back of the back of the bail wires, and then just give everything a little bit of a smoosh there. Make sure that everything is nice and tight. Then with these ones, what I'm going to actually do, I don't have enough space. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hold the bail with my flat nose pliers so it doesn't kink, and then the two bail wires, I'm actually just going to put them across the front, and then here, lovely soft wire, I'm just going to bring a swirl across the front. And again, with this, the reason I hold that neck there is because you don't want these wires to suddenly pull out to the side, because it will give it a bit of a bulbous look towards the edge. And we're just going to come across to the back so you can see we have got a nice little swirl here. Okay. Connecting these two wires to the back, but before I do that, I'm just going to secure at the front. So I'm going to get my smaller needle nose pliers, split these two side wires with your fingernail if you can, and then just shimmy those needle nose pliers down, and then just twist with your wrist, and then that brings that little cage up to the front. So you see it's all starting to be very secure. And then with these two back wires, now we don't want too much bulk at the back because it's quite a small pendant, but what I tend to do is grab the end of the wire and then just tease it around that back wire. Keep one out of the way, just do one wire at a time. Give it a squeeze, try not to have too much wire there. Trim it off, and then you're just going to pinch that end down and in, and then follow suit with this wire. So it's coming underneath here and around, and again give it a little bit of a squeeze in, trim it off, and then we pull it around and squeeze it in. As you can see, you've got two wires now connected to this back, and you've got your little hoop there at the front. Now you can always go back in with your flat nose pliers, give things a little bit of a squeeze just to tighten them up, and it will just help with keeping everything flat when you get to the actual design element at the front. Okay, so now you can see here we've not covered up this area, and we've still got this little druzy part here, which I really would like to keep open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my little twisty tools, one of these, and I'm just going to grab these, and this just gives the wire a little bit more texture. On the square wire, this is a really nice little way of giving your pendants a little bit of extra texture. So you can see as I'm twisting it, it's giving you that little pattern of twist. You can do all wires, or you can do just the front wire, or you can do alternate wires. I think on this one I'm going to do alternate wires. And again, just twisting it. These are brilliant, these little twisters. They're available on Amazon. They're only a few quid. But I do highly recommend them. They've got lots of different fittings on them. Brilliant tool. I wish I'd found them earlier. Okay, so as you can see now, we've got 4 wires at the front. We've got 2 twisted wires and 2 straight. So this is where you can be as creative as you want. And this is usually where I actually pause for a minute just to have a look at what I want to do with the design. So if I zoom out a little bit, you can see just have a think about what I want to do with the design. So because I've got just the four wires on this one, I think I'm going to cross them over. So because this wire is lovely and soft, it moves really, really easily, but it also kinks quite easily. Now with this you could do a heart, you could bring this one round. I actually think I want to come round both on the same side, so I'm going to bring that one round and over the top of that one. And you can just manipulate this nice and gently with your wire. You don't want to mar the wire obviously, but just a nice gentle squeeze every now and then. And I like to kind of do a few bits where the wire comes round itself. So you can see there, it's come round. Let me zoom back in a bit for you. It's come round on itself. And it kind of gives the illusion of the 2 bits of wire kind of constantly crossing over each other. Which I like. I don't know, some people might not like, but that's the one thing about this art form, is it is very, very much a personal preference. So I think with that, if I stop there, and you can see the wires are again around, come back in front, and then I'm going to push this around to the back here. I'm going to trim off a bit. Now, strangely for me, what I always find is when I'm at fairs, the pendants that I am least happy with, you know, they're fine, they work, but the ones that I kind of go, oh, that could have been better, or could have finished it differently, the ones that always sell. So if you are creating for, you know, to sell as a craft, don't always trust your taste, because everyone is different. So we do exactly the same with these wires. We just hold the end, we pull it around, we twist it up, we squeeze it in, and then we nip the end off and pull it back in. I'm really sorry if it sounds like I'm heavy breathing in the camera. I've literally just had a chesty cold and feeling a little bit out of breath at the moment with things. So now what would look really nice on the pendant like this is to oxidize it, because that would actually highlight all of those twirls and make things stand out a little bit more. So we just want to try and get this around, squeeze it in, and then trim off the end. Like so. Squeeze it in. Same with this last wire. Take it around, pull it. Give it a squeeze. And then nip it around. So all of the ends of the wires are facing into the stone. Then what I tend to do is just make sure that everything is straight. Give everything a bit of a final squeeze. Make sure the wires are sitting in the right position. And there you go. Hey presto. Let me zoom out. Hey presto. A white marcasite pendant. I will oxidize this one because I think it will suit it. But there you go. So if you found that useful, then give us a thumbs up, like the video, share it, subscribe for more. I'm going to be doing a lot more tutorial videos in the new year, and just working on creating the setup and everything for it to work really nicely here. Also, don't forget to subscribe and give us a comment down below. Let us know what you try, let us know if it works, let us know how you get on. But here you go, a bare copper pendant using a white marcasite. Thanks enough, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.